last week was just about an introduction. Today, I said to you, we're going to do a bit more learning. So what I want us to have done by the end of this particular workshop, I want us to have discussed and agreed the influences in our lives, so the things in our lives and the people in our lives who have influenced our opinion of what leadership is, of leadership and management. So I want us to have thought about what are our ideas about being a leader and where have they come from. I want us to have discussed and agreed together what are good leadership and management behaviours. So I want us to have a discussion about, what does good look like? I also want us to think about what bad looks like, because actually it's quite useful to know what bad looks like, because we can learn from that as well. The other thing I want us to have done is to explore some ideas around style. And by that, I'm really talking about our approach to leading people, managing people. So I want us to have some discussions around that and start to think about how should we behave in a variety of situations. Yeah. So how might I adjust the way I behave with my team depending on what's going on. So we'll have a look at that. The other thing we're going to spend quite a bit of time on is what needs to happen for us to be able to communicate assertively. So it's about being able to be with your team the way you need to be. So you don't have to give in, but you also don't have to be aggressive. Yeah. So we'll spend some time thinking about that, because we're going to be thinking about the way people behave and the way people interact and why that happens. And how you might adjust the way you interact. Okay? So that's the plan for today. We are also going to, as part of that, we're going to look at feedback. We had a brief discussion last week. I think somebody mentioned the dreaded sandwich last week, didn't they? Do you remember? That might have been you, Shane. Was it that mentioned the sandwich? Yeah. So we're going to have a little bit of a think about feedback, and again about communicating assertively with your feedback to your team, how you might do that so that you're not making them feel bad, I suppose is the best way of describing it. Okay, good. So that's the plan. So we're going to start by thinking about these people who have influenced our ideas around leadership. Now, I've put a picture up of a fella you might recognise. Anybody recognise this guy? This is Barack Obama. Yeah, okay. And the reason I've put him up there really was just he's a sort of typical, I know it's changed now, I didn't want to put Donald Trump up there. So I thought it'd be quite a good idea to have a think about who are those people that we are influenced by. So, in your workbooks, page 1, what I'd just like you to do is just think on your own, just for a couple of minutes, who are the people in your lives who have influenced the way you think about leading and managing people? So give me some ideas of some business people who you might think of who influence other people's leadership styles. Mr. Lord Alan Sugar. So things like The Apprentice. So in the UK it was Alan Sugar, in the US it was Donald Trump. And look what, that was, he had a great influence, didn't he? So yes, those people who we think of as business people, but who are celebrities as well. And they affect the way we think about how people behave, particularly in a business environment. You look at Alan Sugar with his "you're fired." Yeah, that has influenced people to think whether or not that's how you behave as a leader. So, your mission is I'm going to give you some resources. You're going to have some newspapers and some paper clips. Okay. And what you have to do is you have to get your team to build a giraffe out of the paper and the paper clips. Now, you can't use any other resources. You can only use the newspapers and the paper clips. Okay. Now, this is a competition between your two teams. Right. Okay, so at the end of the build time, I'll tell you about the build time in a second. At the end of the build time, your giraffe has to stand independently, so it must be able to stand up on its own. Right. The tallest giraffe will win, except if and I'm the judge, by the way, if both giraffes appear to be the same height, it will be the giraffe that looks most like a giraffe, as judged by me.
Right.
So, tallest giraffe will win unless they are at the same height, and in that case, it will be the one that also looks most like a giraffe. Okay?
Right, okay.
So, you have got 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
To build your giraffe. Okay? Right. You will have, when I say go in there, I'll give you 20 minutes, 5 minutes to do a brief, and then 15 minutes for your building. Yeah. At the end of that 20 minutes, it must stand independently for 1 minute. If it falls down, it will be disqualified. Well, we're doing it inside, so hopefully there will be no breeze. You'll have to take that into consideration.
Sorry,
okay?
When you say you build a giraffe, so
yeah. You're going to build a giraffe using newspapers and paper clips. Okay? Okay. So now you are in charge of your team, so it's up to you how your teams operate. Okay. Okay? And at the end of this, we'll have a debrief. So
I have to say it's quite cute. It is.
Is that what those ears?
Yeah.
That's the top right there.
I can get on it, you know. More people on that team was. Just say.
First of all, and the big thing to learn here, or a big lesson if you like, is that you have to be really clear on what the task is. You as the team leader have to be really clear on what the criteria is. What are your team going to be measured on? How long have you got? When does the task have to be delivered by? And how will you decide it's been successful? And that's really important, to define the outcome right from the very beginning, and have that really clear. And if that information has been given to you by somebody else, ask lots of questions and go back to that person and say, I just need to be really clear before my team start. What are you actually wanting? How are you going to measure this success? So it's down to you as the team lead to check what is the measurement for criteria. And you're not always going to have a boss that gives you nice, clear instructions and says, this is how we're going to measure it. So it is down to you as a team leader to go back to them and make sure that by the time you get the information to your team, you really understand it.